November 22, 1942, Stalingrad. Soviet forces complete their encirclement. 290,000 German soldiers trapped inside a shrinking pocket. Winter is coming, supplies are running out. General Friedrich Paulus sends an urgent radio message to Adolf Hitler. The request is simple: permission to retreat. Break out westward while there's still time. Save the army. Hitler's response comes back quickly. One word: denied. Stand and fight. Hold Stalingrad at all costs. No retreat. This single decision will doom an entire army. But why did Hitler make it? What was going through his mind? Today we examine not the battle itself, but the fatal order that sealed its outcome. One decision, 6 reasons, 290,000 lives. To understand Hitler's decision, first understand the situation. November 19th, Soviet forces launch Operation Uranus. 2 massive pincers, one from the north, one from the south. They strike the weak Romanian flanks, protecting German positions. Within 3 days, the pincers meet. The trap closes. 290,000 men of the German 6th Army, one of Wehrmacht's finest, now completely surrounded. They hold the city of Stalingrad, but they're cut off from the main German forces. The pocket measures roughly 50 kilometers east to west, 40 kilometers north to south. Winter temperatures are already dropping below 10 degrees C and falling. Paulus knows the situation is critical. His army needs 800 tons of supplies daily: food, ammunition, fuel, medical supplies. They have maybe 2 weeks of reserves. After that, starvation. The window to escape exists, but it's closing fast. Reason number 1, the name. Stalingrad. The city named after Joseph Stalin himself. This isn't just another industrial center. This isn't just strategic ground. This is personal. Hitler's ego cannot accept losing a city that bears his enemy's name. The propaganda value is enormous. For months, German newspapers have been declaring imminent victory at Stalingrad. Hitler himself has publicly promised its capture. Now retreat? Admit failure? Admit that Stalin's city defeated him? Unthinkable. This is psychological warfare at the highest level. 2 dictators, 2 massive egos, 1 city. Hitler believes retreating from Stalingrad would be seen as personal defeat, a propaganda disaster. So his decision is made. Emotional, not strategic. The 6th Army will stay, no matter the cost. Reason number 2, Göring's promise. Hermann Göring, commander of the Luftwaffe, Hitler's most trusted deputy, he makes an extraordinary claim. Mein Führer, the Luftwaffe can supply Stalingrad by air. The 6th Army needs 800 tons of supplies daily. Göring promises 500 tons. Not quite enough. But Hitler believes it's sufficient. After all, Göring successfully supplied troops at Demyansk earlier this year. But Stalingrad is different. Much larger encirclement. More men. Worse weather. Soviet air defenses far stronger. The distances greater. Reality will prove devastating. In December, the airlift delivers an average of 94 tons per day. In January, just 60 tons. Less than 10% of what's needed. But Hitler doesn't know this yet. On November 22nd, he believes Göring's assurance. The army can be supplied by air. Therefore, they can hold. Therefore, no retreat necessary. Fatal miscalculation number 2. Reason number 3, protecting the Caucasus. Look at the bigger picture. South of Stalingrad, 600 kilometers away, German Army Group A is deep inside the Caucasus Mountains. Their objective, Soviet oil fields, the fuel that powers the Soviet war machine. In Hitler's mind, the trapped 6th Army serves a purpose. They're a shield. As long as they hold Stalingrad, they tie down Soviet forces. They protect Army Group A's northern flank. If 6th Army retreats, the Caucasus forces become exposed. Soviet armies could sweep south, cut them off, trap them too. Hitler calculates that 290,000 men holding Stalingrad is worth the risk. They're sacrificial pawns protecting the real prize. Oil, strategic logic, but flawed logic. Because without the 6th Army, he'll lose both Stalingrad and the Caucasus. He just doesn't know it yet. Reason number 4. Manstein is coming. Field Marshal Erich von Manstein, one of Germany's most brilliant commanders. Hitler orders him to form a relief force, Operation Winter Storm. The mission: fight eastward to Stalingrad, break the encirclement, save the 6th Army. Manstein assembles a powerful strike force, panzer divisions, elite troops. On December 12th, they attack. They advance rapidly. Soviet defenses crack. By December 19th, Manstein's forces are just 48 kilometers from the pocket, close enough to potentially link up. If Paulus fights westward simultaneously, they could meet. The 6th Army could escape, but Hitler forbids it. The 6th Army stays in Stalingrad. Hold your positions. Manstein will reach you. Except Manstein can't advance further. Soviet reinforcements arrive. December 23rd, the relief attempt stalls, then stops. 48 kilometers, so close, yet impossible to bridge. The last hope dies. Reason number 5. The Napoleon complex. Hitler is obsessed with historical parallels, particularly Napoleon. In 1812, Napoleon invaded Russia, reached Moscow, then retreated. The retreat destroyed his Grande Armée, ended his invincibility. Hitler sees himself as superior to Napoleon. He will not repeat the same mistakes. Napoleon retreated from Russia and lost everything. Therefore, Hitler concludes, retreating equals defeat. Staying equals strength. Flawed logic based on misread history. Napoleon's mistake wasn't retreating. Napoleon's mistake was invading Russia in the first place. But Hitler doesn't see it this way. In his mind, stubbornness proves strength. Flexibility shows weakness. Real commanders never retreat. So when his generals recommend withdrawal from Stalingrad, Hitler sees cowardice, not wisdom. Fatal error number 5. Reason number 6. Distrust of his generals. By late 1942, Hitler has stopped listening to military advice. Why? Because he's been proven right before. Norway invasion, his idea. Generals doubted, he was right. France offensive, his plan. Generals worried, he was right. Success breeds overconfidence. In Hitler's mind, generals are too cautious, too traditional, too quick to recommend retreat. When Paulus requests permission to withdraw, Hitler sees another cautious general. When the general staff supports Paulus, Hitler sees group cowardice. When even Manstein suggests allowing a breakout, Hitler dismisses it. They're all wrong. He's right. He's always been right before. This pattern of ignoring professional military counsel becomes a consistent feature of Hitler's decision-making. Intuition over expertise, willpower over strategy, ego over reality. The ultimate fatal flaw. December, January. Reality crushes Hitler's assumptions one by one. The airlift fails. December deliveries average 94 tons daily. January drops to 60 tons. The army needs 800 tons. Men begin starving. Temperatures plummet to 30 degrees Celsius. Frostbite becomes as deadly as Soviet bullets. Fuel runs out. Vehicles freeze. Weapons malfunction. Soviet attacks shrink the pocket. German-held territory decreases daily. Airfields fall to Soviet forces. Landing zones disappear. Supply drops scatter across no man's land. The pocket that started at 50 kilometers wide is now barely 20 kilometers. Inside, 290,000 men trapped, growing weaker, growing hungrier, growing more desperate. Hitler's 6 reasons for staying, all proven wrong, but the order remains unchanged. Stand and fight. December 19th, the last chance. Manstein's relief force reaches its closest point, 48 kilometers from Stalingrad. Both Manstein and Paulus see the opportunity. If the Sixth Army fights westward while Manstein pushes east, they could link up. Not everyone would escape. Heavy losses expected, but tens of thousands could be saved. Paulus sends another request to Hitler, permission for a breakout toward Manstein. This is it, the final window. Days, maybe hours before Soviet reinforcements close it forever. Hitler's response: denied. The Sixth Army will not abandon Stalingrad. Manstein will reach you. Hold your positions. December 23rd. Soviet counterattacks force Manstein to retreat. The distance grows. 48 kilometers becomes 60, then 80, then impossible. The last chance dies. The Sixth Army's fate is sealed. February 2nd, 1943. General Paulus surrenders. 73 days after the encirclement began. 73 days after Hitler said no to retreat. The numbers tell the story. 290,000 entered the pocket, 91,000 surrendered. The rest, casualties or died from cold and starvation. Of those 91,000 who surrendered, fewer than 5,000 would ever see Germany again. One decision, 6 reasons, all based on psychology, not strategy. Ego over reality, stubbornness over flexibility, distrust over wisdom. Could this have been prevented? If Hitler had allowed retreat on November 22nd, most of the Sixth Army could have escaped. If he'd permitted the breakout to Manstein in December, tens of thousands could have been saved. But he said no, and 290,000 paid the price. Stalingrad changed World War II, but not for the reasons most people think. Yes, it was a turning point. Yes, Germany never recovered. But the real lesson isn't about the battle itself. It's about the decision that doomed it. One man, one order, 6 flawed reasons, all rooted in psychology rather than strategy, ego rather than reality, stubbornness disguised as strength. Hitler's refusal to allow retreat wasn't strategic calculation. It was personal pride, fear of propaganda defeat, misplaced confidence, distrust of advice, obsession with historical parallel. The Sixth Army died not from Soviet superiority. They died from Hitler's decision-making process. This is the real story of Stalingrad. Not how the battle was fought, but why it was fought to such a catastrophic end. When ego commands an army, everyone pays the price.